New World will die unless Amazon does this. Now, obviously the answer here is more content, but I want to talk about what content and why. There's little things that I wish they would change, like being able to open your inventory whilst running or gathering, and also some faction balance changes I would like to see. Now, while they would be great, really, I want to talk about the long-term content that would keep most players playing the game. Now, some of what we're going to talk about has actually been hinted at by Amazon Game Studios themselves, and I'll mention that when appropriate. So we're going to look at PvE and PvP. Now, for PvE, an obvious one would be maybe some kind of hard mode on the expeditions, which are the in-game dungeons. Now, the advantage here is that you could actually just reuse some of the content you have, so like the early expeditions could be scaled up to like level 60, and, you know, maybe add some bosses, increase the health, make it a little bit more difficult, etc. Now, I personally hope that they don't introduce like massively challenging content for the PvE. I sort of want it to remain semi-casual and approachable, but I can appreciate that some parts of the community will want something like this. The hard mode has been hinted at by Amazon, so that is something I think we will see. And the next one is PvE raids. Now, I'm not saying here that we should get like 40-man raids. I don't think New World would necessarily be designed for that. It would feel clunky with all the melee and the blocking and stuff like that. But maybe something like a 15-man raid, and maybe just set that as the number, would actually be pretty interesting. And of course, you could follow the World of Warcraft model here of doing like one new raid per main patch. And that, you know, keeps people interested. I've never really liked a system where you've got to go into a raid and keep farming it on repeat until you get that one piece of loot that you really want. So I hope they don't do that for raids or the PvE hard modes. I'd be in favour of maybe introducing tokens or something like that. Now, with both of those, you could expand on the crafting and the housing system in game by just adding new recipes for crafting, and with the housing, maybe like new rare pieces for your homes, or again, crafting recipes that you would then have to make for your home. That would just be easy content. Now, one thing I didn't mention then is transmog or skins, and there's a very good reason for that. I have a little bit of a minor gripe with the way that skins are done in game. Essentially, if you buy one off the store, and then you can basically just apply it to any relevant piece. So if you get a new upgrade, well, you just apply that new skin, all good. However, if you find a really nice looking item in game, well, then you either wear that item or you don't have that appearance. The minute you change that item, well, then you lose that appearance. There is no way to, say, collect an appearance and then reuse it, giving a significant advantage if you want to look good to the in-game skins. So I can see why Amazon have done that. However, I would like Amazon to maybe introduce a system where you can maybe reduce a pattern to its skin, and then you could maybe apply it to a new item. That I feel would help keep the end game of cosmetics actually relevant for a lot of players, because without it, it's essentially he who buys has. So that's it for the PvE. Now, one thing that doesn't really fit in either category because it would affect both would be new weapons. Now, whilst I would be excited to have new weapons, I'm not sure we should necessarily get them before an expansion. Now, I realise that might be controversial, especially if you're somebody who's like, I really want pistols or I really want dual daggers. Yes, they've all been rumoured and they're almost certainly going to be coming. I just don't necessarily think we need them to keep people in the game. Some people might be like, I'm not playing J until I get dual daggers. Fine, but for most of the audience that's not necessarily the case, mainly because they're already playing, and I think there's actually enough variety in the game with the 11 weapons as it is. But you know, you can add some weapons, add some new zones, raise the level cap, call that an expansion. So I think that's probably what they'll do. For PvP, we have the obvious one of PvP arenas, but for the PvP arenas you could literally just copy like World of Warcraft system. You have a 2v2, 3v3 and a 5v5. You could even do a single duel mode if you liked. That would be all good. Personally, I like the idea of keeping the seasons relatively short, or maybe having a system where that you concentrate the time that the arena fights are going on, essentially to try and keep it so that only people on that server can participate, because otherwise we're going to have that weird like server issue, which I won't talk about here, but where you're fighting people from a different server and it doesn't sort of feel real. But having relatively swift seasons, or even like longer seasons for the PvP, would mean that people like stay in the game and they play from patch to patch, which I guess ultimately is going to be what Amazon want and what the play base generally will follow. We've had that system with World of Warcraft now for like 9 expansions or 8 expansions, whatever it is, and it's been relatively successful. I realise people are getting fatigued with that game, but it's a blueprint that I think Amazon could very much follow. And the second one is essentially along the same lines, but with more battlegrounds. Now, I say more battlegrounds because there's only going to be one, and that's Outpost Rush, and I've not actually played that, but I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that. But along with more battlegrounds, so maybe like instead of a 25 versus 25, you could maybe do a 10 versus 10 or something like that. You could also do something that World of Warcraft hasn't done, which is ranked battlegrounds, and make it so that you can actually solo queue for it rather than having to get a full group. That sounds like it would be pretty damn cool to me. And, you know, I know that's been something that the war community has wanted for quite a while, actually. So all of these are like relatively obvious, and I think most of them are going to come. They will do more battlegrounds, that's inevitable. The PvP arenas have been hinted at by Amazon. The hard mode has been hinted at. Those things are going to come, and really what's going to keep the game from dying is the speed at which they release these. Now, they have said that they will be doing some content around a roadmap, and really that roadmap is going to be the thing that determines if most people are interested. Because what you're going to see in the next couple of weeks and months is a massive player base decrease, and that's fine. As people hit max level, they sort of achieve most of the content that's available, they'll, you know, gradually just fade away from the game. But we don't really have to worry about that immediately. What's important is how Amazon keep delivering content, and then the player base keeps returning, and the player base will steadily grow. It's completely natural, it's completely normal, it's completely expected. However, if Amazon are too slow or the new content is bad or something like that, then we might not see that returning player base and the game could trickle off. So unless Amazon get this content in place relatively quickly, now relatively is obviously all relative, but unless they do it relatively quickly, then the game is at risk, obviously. But they know that. It's not like I'm saying the game is going to die. It really depends on what they produce. So let's give them the chance to do it. If you get to max level and you get bored of the game, hold on, wait till we get the roadmap, see if there's anything on there that you're interested in, and then come back. I don't think New World is going to be a game that you have to play every single day for 5 hours at a time. As much as the hardcore player base wants that, I don't necessarily see that's the direction they're going in, but I could be wrong. We'll find out when the roadmap comes out. If you like this video, then do press like. If you're interested in more New World videos, then do subscribe. Have a most beautiful day. Goodbye.